Good evening. After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone.
Vance Bolter, the man alleged with attempting to assassinate 2 Democratic lawmakers, leaving 2 dead and 2 injured, has been apprehended by law enforcement. And Tim Walz just gave a press conference detailing all that we need to know about the successful manhunt. Now, we are going to get into this breaking news, but at the same time, as this story unfolds, we also got new reporting about Donald Trump's refusal at this moment to call Tim Walz and how he spoke about him in a disturbing way as this devastating story broke. We are going to get into it all. But first, I want to start with Governor Walz.
That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone. To the law enforcement who stand here and the hundreds who were involved in this, the state of Minnesota owes you a deep debt of gratitude. Thank you. You ran towards the danger and you served the state of Minnesota. This is a great example of coordination and collaboration. Multiple agencies, federal, state, and local, coordinating together in a way to protect the public and close this hunt around. Multiple agencies were there as FBI laid hands on it and Minnesota State Patrol put the handcuffs on. One man's unthinkable actions have altered the state of Minnesota. Melissa Hortman was the core of who our values were. She had a hand in so many things that happened. The building that we stand in, she helped usher through so that we could respond from the State Emergency Operations Center with the professionalism and giving the tools necessary to law enforcement to do their job. To Melissa and Mark's family, I cannot fathom your pain and the grief that you're going through. We'll take solace in the memory and the work that Melissa did, and you can rest assured that we will put every ounce of effort that the state of Minnesota has to make sure that justice is served and the individual responsible for this serves the time for the unspeakable act. State grieves with you. To John and Yvette Hoffman, the latest news is Senator Hoffman came out of his final surgery and is moving towards recovery. Yvette is healing. And I think when the story comes out, and I'd like to say on behalf of the state of Minnesota, the heroic actions by the Hoffman family and their daughter Hope saved countless lives, and we are grateful. Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will continue to investigate. We will keep you informed. We'll spare no expense and no work to make sure that that happens. A moment in this country where we watched violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country. And each and every one of us can do it. Talk to a neighbor rather than arguing. Debate an issue. Shake hands. Find common ground. This is who Melissa Hortman was. In the first negotiating session that I had a chance to work with her, she got all the partners in the room, and she provided each and every one of us a copy of a book called Getting to Yes. And the whole premise was debating with a sense of goodwill, a sense of trying to come to compromises that serve everyone. And because of her, we did that. Because of her, we did that year after year after year. That's the embodiment of how things are supposed to work. It's not about hatred. It's not about mean tweets. It's not about demeaning someone. It's leading with grace and compassion and vision and compromise and decency. That was taken from us in Minnesota with the murder of Speaker Hortman. So for each and every one of us to truly honor, and we will continue to honor that spirit, but we will need to do it in just more than actions in a memorial. Conducting ourselves in the spirit that Melissa Hortman did her work is what the country needs to heal. I will once again say the deep debt of gratitude. These professionals standing behind us and countless others. This was, you'll hear from them, incredibly complex. And to take this suspect in with no life of life or injuries to civilian population and to bring him in alive so he can serve justice, which he will do in Minnesota, is an incredible thing that we are grateful for. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the professionals, starting with Commissioner of Public Safety for the state of Minnesota, Bob Jacobson.
I am so proud of the way that Governor Walz has responded to this situation, the humanity that is so desperately needed in this moment, that he brought to it his call for us to put an end to the political violence that is plaguing this country. And it is happening because of a movement on the right that seeks to strip away the very humanity that Tim Walz speaks with. And we see that every day in Donald Trump's rhetoric and his actions, and we saw it in reports about how he, a man who is not a leader, responded to this crisis. Just take a look. Reporter Rachel Scott wrote, "On Minnesota, I asked the president about the assassination and whether he plans to call the state's Democratic governor, Tim Walz. Well, it's a terrible thing. I think he's a terrible governor. I think he is a grossly incompetent person. But I may call him. I may call other people too," the president said. And new reporting reveals Trump has not called Governor Walz after the Minnesota shooting and is still attacking him as grossly incompetent in a moment where not only the state of Minnesota needs compassion, but the governor has lost a dear friend of his. Donald Trump is attacking him as incompetent. That's what he's doing. As the members of his movement come up with conspiracies to attack Democrats with, really, that's what they're doing. But this is what MAGA is constantly spinning up their lies, their gross attacks. We saw one senator say this was a result of Marxist leftists. A sitting U.S. senator said that. So that's fine to the right. But Senator Alex Padilla asking a question of Christ in a press conference is not. But this is what MAGA does. They seek to. They seek to divide. They seek to spread their misinformation and spew their bile, even though it runs counter to the facts on the ground that we have gotten. And we see those blatantly reported right here.
Talk about his politics a little bit. I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. Because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about them. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Tim Walz?
Didn't like Jim Biden. But
Tim Walz? What would you say about him?
well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Oh, I don't like this, that Tim Walz did this. I don't like that they did that.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for
He
yesterday?
never mentioned the protest.
What do you make of everything that's happened here and the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he can be taken alive, because he's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, you know. So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down, but I don't know where he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to Infowars, but I kind of said, well, it's like 50% truth. And I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off on.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. If you like Trump, I like Trump.
Now, I said in the video that I made right after this shooting, and I was incredibly shaken up talking about it, that I didn't want to feel like this moment was one that I was quote-unquote politicizing, but the number of elected officials I have seen speak out, I have heard from directly, I have spoken to, that feel concern in this moment is frightening, especially when you see some like Lisa Mowski say that the fear, she feels the violence and intimidation coming from her own party sort of keeps her in line voting with Donald Trump, voting with the base, because she's so afraid of them. Now, there are two things there that really scares me. The first, obviously, is the intimidation felt by those who should be serving us, who should not feel that their service should put them in harm's way. Sure, it should lead to pushback from the public, very vocal and peaceful pushback if they are not serving us properly, but a fear of violence should never be the case. The second thing, which might even almost worry me more, is that Lisa Murkowski understands, and I hope you remember the clip I'm referencing from about a month ago. She understands that the violence, the intimidation, the fear is coming from her own party, and yet she sticks with it again. I don't want to be politicizing this current moment. We should be celebrating the work that was done in Minnesota to make sure no other civilians were harmed after this devastating 48 hours. But it's important to talk about, and it's also important to talk about how the gut check reaction to everything by the right has been to come up with conspiracies. These are people who detest the idea of waiting patiently for information to be gathered to make real assessments and factual claims. They are repelled by knowledge because it interferes with the fantasy that they have constructed so that they can continue to live their life. That is a lie. And it is a lie that is doing real damage to our country. It is costing people their lives at home and abroad. The lie that peanut packets being shipped at a quarter, a tenth of a cent a pop to starving children across the world are what's keeping you from buying a house. Being able to purchase fresh and cheap produce to not go bankrupt from medical bills is absurd. That is a lie told by the right, told by Elon Musk, who is so quick to perpetuate this conspiracy that puts people in harm's way, and it has children have lost their lives. So I'm sorry if I am politicizing this moment, if that is the wrong thing to do. But as I said the other day, what else do you want from me to not respond to? Wait for the next time it happens. We can't do that. We have to call out this movement that, again, seeks to strip people of their humanity, that not only encourages, not only excuses, but at this point seems to justify the violent actions of their supporters, justifies them. That is how the Trump administration began. Not only an excuse of what you did in the past, but a justification for further action. Go out, do my bidding, put on a mask while you do. So if someone identifies you, I'll pardon you. That's this administration. It's scary. Again, I'm sorry, I made it about politics, but when people are losing their lives, it's not politics, it's real life. That's how I feel right now. Like yesterday, I'm sorry that I got emotional. It's just how I feel. Well, we're going to continue to bring all developments on this story. I so appreciate the work done by those law enforcement officials, by Governor Walz. We're going to keep you updated. And so if you want those updates, of course you can subscribe to this channel because we'll be bringing them as quickly as possible. But until next time, I'll see you soon.